Wizartist. Hello learners, welcome back to my channel Wizartist. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to Ncert Science Class 7 Chapter 1 Nutrition in Plants, and also I am going to give you a brief about the topic photosynthesis. So let's have a look about the learning outcome. In this chapter, you will learn about various modes of nutrition in plants. So come, let's start learning. So first, let's have a quick recap of earlier knowledge that is related with this chapter. Food is essential for all living organisms. In our previous classes, we have learned that food is a really important aspect for life of all living organisms, without which no one can survive. The various nutrients in foods are carbohydrates, protein, fats, vitamins, and minerals. We've also learned that our food has nutrients, which are components of food. These components are known as nutrients, and these nutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. All these nutrients are important for our body and have various functions. We've also learned that these nutrients are very important for our body and they have various functions. We cannot survive without these nutrients. As we have learned in our last class, that if we don't get the proper amount of these nutrients, we may suffer from deficiency diseases. Thus, all these nutrients are important and they have various functions. For example, carbohydrates and fats give us energy, proteins help in growth and repairing, while vitamins and minerals help in the proper functioning of our body. We've also learned that plants can make their own food through the process of photosynthesis, while animals and humans depend on plants for food. Okay, so we've learned that plants are not dependent on any organism for food because they can make their own food. How? By the process of photosynthesis. But animals and humans cannot. They cannot make food on their own. That's why they are dependent on plants for food. But now you might be wondering how carnivores are dependent on plants because they don't eat plants. Here is the example of a food chain that will help you understand how all animals, even carnivores, are dependent on plants. So here grass, which is consumed by deer, which is a herbivore, and deer is consumed by lion, which is a carnivore. Here the grass is the plant. If this grass will disappear or go extinct, deer will not get anything to eat, would it? Okay, and if the deer will not be able to adapt with other plants, not be able to eat the other plants, then it will go extinct as well. And lion, which is dependent on deer for food, soon it will also go extinct. Thus we can say all animals, including carnivores and herbivores and also humans, are dependent on plants for food, but they are either directly dependent on plants for food like deer or indirectly like the lion. Now, listening to the name of this chapter, Nutrition in Plants, you might have a question that what is nutrition? Here is their answer. Nutrition is the mode of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body. Means how a organism takes food and how its body uses that food. So here's an example of humans. We take food by chewing, like we put it in our mouth and chew it. And how we use it? We use it for repairing tissues or other things like giving us energy, growth, etc. Okay, so I hope you are clear with nutrition. Types of organisms based on the mode of nutrition. Now you might know that there are carnivores, omnivores, herbivores based on which type, what they eat and other things. But now based on the mode of nutrition, organisms are again classified into two categories. Autotrophs, wherein auto means self, trophos means nourishment. An example is plants. So here it means that self-nourishment, autotrophs means self-nourishment, means that they can make food for themselves. They are not dependent on any other organism or creature for food. They are self-dependent for food. On the other hand, there are heterotrophs who are unlike autotrophs, wherein heteros means others and trophos means nourishment. Okay, so an example is animals. Okay, here heterotrophs again means others nourishment, means they get their nourishment by others. They are not self-dependent. They are dependent on autotrophs or other heterotrophs for food. So here are a few autotrophs, which are plants, and here are a few heterotrophs, which are animals and humans. Now let's learn about the process of photosynthesis. So what is basically photosynthesis? In simple language, we can say that plants prepare food through the unique process of photosynthesis. So it's a short definition for photosynthesis. Now let's see how photosynthesis occurs in plants. Water and minerals present in the soil are absorbed by the roots and reach the leaves. How but? They reach the leaves through a network that is present from the roots through the stem to the leaves, which are called vessels. Now, these vessels make a continuous path for minerals and water to reach the leaves from the roots through the stem to the leaves. Now, how is carbon dioxide taken? Carbon dioxide present in the air is taken by the leaves through tiny pores present called stomata. And how is sunlight taken? There are green pigment present on leaves called chlorophyll, and these are the things, this is the pigment that takes sunlight. So let's have a look at the structure of chlorophyll. So here chlorophyll is present, here are the guard cells, and here is the stoma. Okay, so these are the chlorophylls. If you will have look, that these are the chlorophyll. Now, sunlight is absorbed by the leaves in the form of food or energy. Thus, we can say that sun is the ultimate source for energy of all living organisms, because sunlight is absorbed by the leaves as energy, and that energy is used by the plant, and all the organisms, other organisms, are dependent on plants for food. Now, in the form of equation, photosynthesis can be represented as, let's have a look, in the form of a chemical equation. How can we represent photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide and water together with sunlight, which is absorbed by chlorophyll, give out carbohydrate, which is starch, and oxygen. This is the form of equation, chemical equation for photosynthesis. Because as we have seen, carbon dioxide is took water from the soil and sunlight absorbed by chlorophylls, and this gives out carbohydrates and oxygen. So now let us see what is produced during photosynthesis. As we've seen in the chemical equation, that oxygen and starch, which is also a carbohydrate, the complex carbohydrate, is produced. Now, why is it starch important? Means, what is the importance of starch that we can say is that if starch is present in leaves, then it means that photosynthesis occurred. Means if starch is in the leaves, it is present in the leaves, then only photosynthesis has occurred. If it is not present in the leaves, means photosynthesis has not occurred. Okay, now why is this process called photosynthesis? So the answer is, as the food is prepared in the presence of sunlight, it is called photo, which means light. Which light? Sunlight. And synthesis, which means to combine, means to mix, to combine. Okay, so that is why this process is known as photosynthesis. What if there was no photosynthesis? It would be a terrible thing. Why? Because no photosynthesis means no plants. But how? Because plants get their energy from photosynthesis, their food from photosynthesis, and without the food, they cannot survive. No plants means no food for other organisms, because all organisms are dependent directly or indirectly on plants for food. And also there will be no oxygen replenishment, which will soon lead to no oxygen in the environment, because humans and other heterotrophs will consume all the oxygen for themselves and release carbon dioxide, which will leave no oxygen in the environment because it's not being replenished through the process of photosynthesis. Thus we can say without food and oxygen which is produced in photosynthesis, there will be no life. Thus, photosynthesis is a very important process. Now here is a fact for you all, that some leaves seem to be red or violet in color. This does not mean that these leaves, which is this over here, do not have chlorophyll and they do not perform photosynthesis. It means that the other color pigments are abundant. Like this pigment is here, which is the abundant pigment, and it is present more. Okay, are in abundant, while chlorophyll is hidden beneath those abundant pigments. So chlorophyll is hidden. That's why these leaves seem to be red or violet. But it does not mean that they do not perform chlorophyll. They do perform chlorophyll, only this chlorophyll is hidden under these pigments, abundant pigments. For here it is the red pigment. Okay, so thank you. So this was only for today. In the next video, I'm going to tell you more about photosynthesis, and we are also going to learn other modes of nutrition in plants and a few more modes of nutrition like saprophytic and parasitic. Thank you. Bye bye.